The planet Valanthra shone like a sapphire in the dark of space. Its high towers reached the clouds, and its golden palaces gleamed under twin suns. The Thrixian Empire ruled over more than 20 worlds, proud and powerful. Its people believed they were the center of the galaxy, graceful, wise, and above all, pure. Inside the royal palace, the young Princess Saralyn stood before the Emperor Theros, her father. His silver crown glimmered as he sat on the crystal throne, surrounded by nobles and advisors. But Saralyn's heart was full of anger. She could not believe what she had just heard. "You want me to marry who?" she demanded, her voice echoing through the hall. The Emperor's deep voice remained calm. "A human daughter, from the world called Earth. The Galactic Council has approved the treaty. The marriage will seal our alliance." Saralyn's jaw tightened. "Father, that is impossible. Humans are uncivilized. They are violent. They do not understand our customs or our honor." The court whispered in agreement. Some of the nobles smirked. One said softly, "They are from a death world, Your Majesty. A dangerous people." The Emperor raised his hand, silencing them all. "And yet they are survivors. The humans rebuilt their world after 3 wars. They reached the stars without help. They have courage, and that makes them valuable allies." Saralyn shook her head, her long silver hair falling around her shoulders. "You cannot ask me to bind our bloodline to them. I refuse." "Refusal is not an option," said her father quietly. "Our empire's peace depends on it. You will attend the ambassador's arrival tomorrow. You will show respect." Saralyn wanted to shout again, but the Emperor's tone left no space for argument. She bowed stiffly, her heart burning. When she left the throne room, she could still hear the whispers of the court behind her. She dares to argue with the Emperor. She fears the humans. I would too. She is still young. She does not understand politics. Saralyn walked faster, her long gown sweeping over the marble floors. She hated their voices. She hated the way they spoke about her, as if she were a spoiled child. She was not afraid. She simply did not believe that a human deserved a royal bond with the Thrixian Empire. That night, she stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. The air was cool, and the moons painted the gardens below in silver light. Far beyond those stars was the world called Earth, small and harsh, where storms and wars shaped its people. She had read reports about humans, how they adapted to any danger, how they fought even when outnumbered, how their emotions made them unpredictable. "Emotional creatures," she murmured. "They act first and think later." Her maid Tara bowed behind her. "Your Highness, the human delegation arrives tomorrow morning. Shall I prepare your ceremonial gown?" Saralyn nodded stiffly. "Yes, I will wear white. It will show them that I come in peace even if I do not agree with this plan." Tara hesitated. "Do you think he will be different, Your Highness?" Saralyn frowned. "Different? No. He will be like the rest of his kind, loud, proud, and careless." She turned her eyes back to the stars. "But I will face him. I am a princess of Thrixia. I will not let a human see me as weak." The next morning the palace buzzed with energy. Thousands of glowing banners flew above the grand courtyard. Soldiers lined the path leading to the spaceport. The Emperor's advisors stood in perfect rows wearing robes of gold and blue. Saralyn walked beside her father, her head high, her face calm. Inside, her heart was still full of storm. She told herself she would not show emotion. She would look the human in the eyes and show him that Thrixia bowed to no one. A deep hum filled the air. Above them, a sleek black ship descended slowly through the clouds. Its design was simple but strong, not decorated like Thrixian ships, yet built with purpose. The crowd murmured. Even Saralyn felt a strange curiosity. When the landing ramp opened, a group of human soldiers walked out first. Their uniforms were dark blue, their movements sharp and disciplined. Then came a tall man in a silver uniform, carrying no weapon, no crown, only a small badge over his heart that said, Commander Aaron Vale. He looked around calmly as he stepped onto the marble platform. His eyes, gray like steel, met the Emperor's first, then turned to Saralyn. In that moment, something unexpected happened. Saralyn froze. She had imagined a human to be rough, wild, maybe even barbaric. But this man stood tall with quiet strength. His face showed no fear in front of the alien court. His eyes were not proud but steady, as if he understood more than he said. "Your Majesty," Aaron said, his voice deep and clear. On behalf of Earth and the Human Federation, I bring peace and respect. He did not bow. He placed his right hand over his heart, a human gesture of honor. The crowd gasped. Saralin's eyes widened slightly. No one ever stood before the Emperor without bowing. Her father smiled faintly. We accept your greeting, Commander Vale. May this day mark the start of a new future. Aaron nodded once. That is our hope as well. Saralin watched every word, every motion. He spoke simply, without the usual flattery of diplomats. There was something in the way he held himself, calm, controlled, yet powerful. When his eyes met hers again, she felt her breath catch for a second. It was not attraction. Not yet. It was something else. Something she had not expected to feel for a human. Respect. During the welcoming feast, Aaron sat across from her at the long crystal table. Alien dishes filled the plates, glowing fruits, silver grains, and sweet mist drinks. He studied them curiously but politely. When he spoke, his words were careful, thoughtful. Your world is beautiful, Princess, he said. I have read of your empire's history. The Thrixians have achieved wonders. Saralin answered coldly. You flatter easily, Commander, but I know humans rarely mean what they say. Aaron looked at her for a moment, then smiled slightly. On Earth, we say what we mean. It keeps us alive. His simple answer silenced her. No one in the court dared to speak to her that way, without fear, without ceremony. Yet his tone was not rude, it was honest. As the evening went on, Aaron told stories of Earth. He spoke of oceans that covered half the planet, of cities rebuilt after great wars, of humans who kept pushing forward no matter how hard life became. His words were filled with quiet pride. The Thrixian nobles listened, curious. Even Saralin, though she tried not to show it, leaned slightly forward. There was strength in his words, not the strength of weapons, but of spirit. When the feast ended, the Emperor thanked the guests. The humans bowed their heads slightly, and Aaron met Saralin's eyes one last time before leaving. Tomorrow, he said softly, we begin the talks for peace. I hope we both want the same thing. Saralin said nothing, but when he walked away, she realized her anger had faded, replaced by confusion. She had prepared to hate him. Instead, she could not stop thinking about his calm face, his steady eyes. That night, as the palace slept, Saralin stood again on her balcony. The stars looked closer than ever. Somewhere among them was the planet called Earth, the world of storms and courage. She whispered to herself, humans are strange. Tara appeared beside her. Did he offend you, Your Highness? Saralin shook her head slowly. No, that is what bothers me. He did not. She looked up at the night sky and thought of the man who did not bow, who spoke to her like an equal, the man she was supposed to reject. For the first time, Princess Saralin wondered if the future she feared might not be the one her heart would choose. Morning came to the shining world of Velanthra. The twin suns rose slowly above the marble towers, and the palace woke to soft chimes echoing through the halls. Servants hurried with documents and trays, preparing for the first day of diplomatic talks between the Thrixian Empire and Earth's Human Federation. Princess Saralin stood before a mirror as her maid Tara adjusted her gown. The fabric shimmered faintly, white with silver threads, a symbol of peace. But Saralin's heart was not calm. She remembered the human from yesterday, Commander Aaron Vale, and how he had stood tall without fear in front of her father. He had not bowed. He had not spoken like a servant. He had spoken like an equal. That thought disturbed her. Your Highness, said Tara gently, you seem deep in thought. Are you worried about today's meeting? Saralin looked into the mirror, her silver eyes thoughtful. No, just curious. Humans speak boldly for a race so new to the stars. I wish to see if their words hold the same strength as their eyes. Tara smiled faintly. He seemed honorable for a human. Saralyn turned away. Perhaps. But honor is easy to claim, harder to prove. The great council chamber of the palace was shaped like a circle, its walls lined with tall blue crystals that reflected light across the room. The emperor sat at the highest seat, with nobles and advisors on either side. The human delegation entered quietly, led by Aaron Vale. He wore the same silver uniform, clean and simple. No crown, no jewels, yet his presence filled the chamber like silent thunder. Saralyn took her seat beside her father, keeping her expression unreadable. She told herself to treat this as duty, nothing more. The emperor spoke first. Commander Vale, on behalf of Thrixia, I welcome you. Let us begin our discussion of peace and partnership. Aaron nodded. We are honored, Your Majesty. Humanity seeks understanding, not dominance. We believe that together our worlds can grow stronger. One of the nobles, Lord Sinar, leaned forward with a smirk. Your people are brave, Commander. But tell me, how can a young race like yours offer strength to an empire that has ruled for centuries? Aaron looked at him without anger. Because, my lord, we remember struggle. We remember what it means to lose everything and still rebuild. Empires forget that sometimes. The room fell quiet. Even Lord Sinar blinked in surprise. The emperor's eyes narrowed, but not in anger. In interest. Saralyn, despite herself, felt a strange warmth in her chest. There was honesty in his words. Aaron continued. Humanity has learned that peace cannot be forced. It must be chosen. You cannot buy it with fear. You earn it with trust. The emperor nodded slowly. Wise words, Commander. Saralyn spoke for the first time. And yet trust must be tested. Tell me, human, if our empire ever disagreed with your Federation's decisions, what would you do? Would you fight us? Aaron turned to face her. His gray eyes met hers directly. If you threatened humanity, we would defend ourselves. But if you sought peace, we would stand beside you. We do not conquer our friends. His calm tone caught her off guard. Most alien diplomats tried to please her with pretty words. This one simply told the truth. Strange, she said softly. You speak as though your world has already seen too many wars. Aaron's face grew distant for a moment. We have. That is why we value peace. We earned it through pain, not promises. The silence that followed was heavy, not awkward, but thoughtful. Even the nobles stopped whispering. Later that day, the official meeting ended. The emperor left for another council, and the nobles scattered through the gardens to gossip. But Saralyn remained, pretending to study the treaty documents. She sensed someone approach and looked up. It was Aaron. Princess, he said politely, may I ask a question? She nodded slightly. Go on. You seem unhappy with this alliance. May I ask why? His directness surprised her. Most aliens feared to question her feelings. She folded her hands neatly. Because peace built on marriage is not peace. It is politics. My father sees this union as a symbol. I see it as a chain. Aaron thought for a moment, then said, perhaps it can be both. Sometimes a symbol becomes real when people behind it choose to make it real. She frowned. You speak like a philosopher, not a soldier. He smiled slightly. On Earth, soldiers learn to think. It helps us survive. That answer made her pause. She studied him. His calm face, his strong but simple uniform, his quiet voice that carried a strange gravity. There was no arrogance, only quiet confidence. Tell me something, she said after a moment. Why did you not bow to my father yesterday? Every guest bows. Aaron looked straight at her. Because on my world, respect is not shown by kneeling. It's shown by standing beside someone even in danger. Saralyn felt her chest tighten slightly. And if my father saw that as insult? Then I would have apologized, he said simply. But I cannot kneel when I promise to stand beside him. His words struck her deeper than she wanted to admit. She turned away quickly. You speak boldly for someone in a foreign court. Boldness keeps humans alive, he said. Our planet taught us that. We had to fight storms, hunger, and each other. But we learned, and now we stand here. Saralyn looked at him again. Maybe your world made you stronger than I thought. Aaron gave a small smile. Or maybe yours made you colder than you realize. For a moment she could not speak. Then to her own surprise she laughed softly, the first real laugh she had in days. You are either very brave or very foolish, she said. Both. Sometimes, he replied lightly. That evening, A royal banquet was held in honor of the human guests. The music was soft, the lights dim, and the stars above glowed through the crystal ceiling. Saralyn sat near her father again, trying to keep her mind focused on the politics of the event. But her eyes kept drifting to the human table. Aaron was speaking to some of the younger nobles, explaining human art, music, and stories. He spoke of Earth's oceans, deserts, and mountains, of how their ancestors looked at the night sky and dreamed of reaching it. His words painted pictures in her mind, of struggle, hope, and endless courage. When their eyes met across the hall, he nodded politely. Saralyn looked away quickly, feeling a warmth she did not understand. After the feast, she walked alone in the royal gardens. The night air was cool, and the light from the twin moons reflected on the silver leaves. Her mind was full of questions. How could a man from such a harsh world speak with such calm? Why did his eyes feel so steady, as if he carried the weight of 1,000 storms but was never broken by them? She did not notice Aaron approaching until he spoke softly behind her. "Beautiful night," he said. Saralyn turned, startled. "You should not be here alone, Commander." He smiled faintly. "Neither should you." For a long moment they stood in silence among the glowing flowers. The air felt different, not tense but quiet, like two worlds trying to understand each other. "Do you still think humans are dangerous?" Aaron asked. Saralyn hesitated, then said, "Yes, but not for the reason I thought." He tilted his head. "And what reason is that?" She looked into his eyes. "Because you make others question what they believe." Aaron didn't reply. He simply smiled. A small, knowing smile that made her heart beat faster than she expected. That night, as Saralyn lay awake in her chamber, she realized something had changed. The anger she once felt toward the idea of this alliance had turned into curiosity, and maybe a hint of respect. She whispered softly to herself, "Perhaps there is more to humanity than I was told." Outside, the twin moons of Valanthra crossed paths in the night sky, two worlds moving closer, though they did not yet touch. And somewhere in the quiet halls of the palace, a human soldier and an alien princess began to think of each other not as enemies but as equals. The golden city of Valanthra still glowed under the twin suns, but inside the royal palace whispers had begun to rise. Not everyone supported peace with the humans, and some were ready to destroy it. The next morning, Princess Saralyn sat in the crystal hall beside her father, Emperor Theros, listening to the second day of negotiations. The chamber was filled with nobles and generals. On the opposite side sat the human delegation, led by Commander Aaron Vale. The talk seemed calm, but Saralyn could feel a strange tension in the air, a quiet unease. Like a storm waiting behind the clouds, Aaron was speaking about shared trade routes and military cooperation. His voice was steady, his logic clear, but several Thrixian nobles exchanged sharp looks. Their eyes did not hide their dislike for him. When the meeting ended, one of the nobles, General Corin, a tall, broad man with golden armor, stepped forward and bowed to the emperor. "Your Majesty," he said, "these humans speak well, but words can deceive. We should not trust them so easily." Aaron looked at him calmly. "Trust is earned, General. I came here to earn it." Corin's lips curved slightly. "And yet your kind is known for sudden wars. How can we be sure your hand of peace is not holding a blade?" The Emperor's eyes hardened. "Enough, Corin. Commander Vale is our guest." Corin bowed again, but his smile did not reach his eyes. Saralyn watched him leave the hall, her instincts warning her of danger. That evening, as the palace lights dimmed, Saralyn wandered through the quiet corridors, trying to clear her thoughts. She had begun to admire the human's calmness, his sense of control. But peace was fragile, and she could feel it breaking. She turned a corner and froze. Two guards were whispering near a door, their voices low. "Tonight after the feast," one said. "The explosion will look like an accident." Sarah Lynn's heart skipped a beat. She leaned closer, hidden in the shadows. The human commander? The other asked. Yes, Koran said he's too dangerous. If he dies, the Alliance dies too. Sarah Lynn's breath caught. For a moment she stood still, shocked. Then she turned and ran quietly back toward her chambers. She knew what she had to do. Later that night, the palace hosted another formal feast. Music filled the air, and golden lights reflected on crystal walls. The guests smiled and toasted, unaware that danger lurked nearby. Aaron sat near the Emperor again, calm as ever. He noticed Sarah Lynn's uneasy glance, but said nothing. When the musicians began a slow melody, Sarah Lynn rose and moved toward him. Her gown shimmered as she stopped beside his table. "Commander," she said quietly, "may I speak with you? In private?" Aaron looked surprised but nodded. They walked together through the side doors, down a quiet corridor filled with paintings of old kings and queens. Once they were alone, Sarah Lynn turned sharply to him. "Someone plans to attack you tonight." Aaron blinked. "What?" I heard the guards. "They said General Koran ordered it." He frowned. "Are you certain?" "Yes," she said firmly. "They plan to cause an explosion near your quarters." For a moment, Aaron was silent. Then his voice grew low. "Thank you, Princess. You didn't have to warn me." "I did," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Because if you die, peace dies too. My father trusts this alliance, and I—" She paused, struggling for words. "I no longer believe all humans are what I thought." Aaron nodded. "Then we stop them, so together." They moved quickly through the empty corridors toward the guest wing. The palace lights flickered faintly and the air felt heavy. Aaron pulled out a small handheld scanner from his belt. Human technology, compact and sharp. Blue light spread from it, scanning the walls. "There," he said quietly. "Energy spike. Someone planted a charge." Sarah Lynn's eyes widened. "How can you tell?" He gave a small smile. "Earth taught us to expect traps." They followed the signal to a maintenance room near the guest chambers. Inside, they found a small metallic sphere pulsing with red light, a plasma bomb. Aaron knelt beside it, his hands moving fast. "It's armed but not yet activated. Someone was waiting to trigger it remotely," Sarah Lynn whispered. "Can you disarm it?" "Yes," he said softly. "But we have to hurry." She stood beside the door, listening for footsteps while he worked. Her heart raced. It felt strange, an alien princess standing guard for a human soldier. Finally, Aaron exhaled. "Done." He held up the bomb's core, now silent and harmless. But before they could leave, voices echoed from the corridor. "Check the rooms." The human must not leave alive. It was Koran's men. Aaron looked at Sarah Lynn. "We can't fight them head on. Is there another way out?" She nodded. "Follow me." They slipped through a hidden passage behind the wall, one known only to the royal family. The narrow path led into the ancient royal gardens, a place of glowing plants and silver fountains. When they stepped out under the moonlight, Sarah Lynn turned to him. "You saved us both, but now Koran will know I helped you." Aaron looked at her seriously. "Then we expose him before he can strike again." In the quiet garden, surrounded by strange glowing flowers, they talked in hushed voices. Sarah Lynn told him of the nobles' growing anger, their fear of humans changing Thrixian traditions. Aaron told her of intercepted signals his ship's AI had picked up, coded transmissions from inside the palace, sent to a rebel fleet nearby. Together, they connected the pieces. Koran wasn't just a jealous general. He was part of a faction planning a coup. Sarah Lynn stared at the data on Aaron's handheld display. "He wants to overthrow my father." "And blame Earth for it." Aaron nodded grimly. "If he succeeds, both our worlds go to war." The princess clenched her fists. "We can't let that happen." For a moment, silence filled the garden. The only sound was the gentle whisper of the wind through silver leaves. Then Aaron spoke softly. "Princess, there's one thing I don't understand." "What is it?" "Why did you help me?" "You said you opposed this alliance." Sarah Lynn looked down. "I did, but that was before I met you." He raised an eyebrow slightly, waiting. She continued quietly. "You don't act like the humans I imagined. You don't threaten. You don't boast. You listen. You risk your life for peace, maybe. Maybe that is what makes humans dangerous." Aaron smiled faintly. "Dangerous in the right way, I hope." She smiled back just for a moment. It was small but real. Before dawn, they gathered proof of Koran's plan. intercepted codes, recordings, and security logs. With this evidence, they went to the Emperor's private chamber. Guards tried to stop them, but Saralin's voice carried royal command. When the Emperor saw them enter, he frowned. "Saralin? Commander Vale? What is this?" Aaron placed the data on the table. "Proof, Your Majesty. There's a traitor in your court." As Theros read the reports, his expression darkened. "Koran," he whispered. "I trusted him." Saralin stepped forward. "Father, he meant to destroy the humans and your alliance. If we hadn't stopped him, the palace would be in ruins." The Emperor looked at Aaron. "You risked your life for our people." Aaron shook his head. "No, Majesty. I did what was right." For the first time, the Emperor's stern face softened. Perhaps humanity truly understands honor. When Koran was arrested that morning, the palace buzzed with shock. Many nobles were forced to face the truth. The humans had saved them, not endangered them. Saralin watched as Koran was led away in chains. She felt no triumph, only relief. Peace had survived, for now. Aaron stood beside her, calm as ever. "It's over," he said quietly. She nodded. "For tonight. But peace is never safe for long." He smiled slightly. "Then we keep standing guard." As the suns rose over Valanthra, their light turned the palace gold again. Two very different souls, one human, one alien, stood together on the balcony. Saralin looked at Aaron and said softly, "When this began, I did not want to see your face. Now I'm glad I did." Aaron simply nodded. "So am I, Princess." And though the day was bright, both knew that darker storms were still ahead. And when they came, they would face them side by side. The day began like any other on Valanthra. The twin suns rose, casting golden light over the towering marble palace. But the calm was an illusion. Hidden in the shadows, General Koran's loyal followers prepared the final stage of their plan. He had been imprisoned yesterday, but the prison was not secure enough. A small faction of his soldiers had unlocked the cells during the early morning hours. They moved swiftly, quietly, their mission clear. Take the palace by force, eliminate Commander Aaron Vale, and place Koran back in power. Meanwhile, Princess Saralin awoke with a strange unease. Her dreams had been restless. She had seen fires consuming the palace, her people fleeing, and the human commander in danger. Something in her gut told her the threat was real. She dressed quickly in her ceremonial gown, white trimmed with silver, but added a lightweight protective cloak beneath it. Tara, her maid, noticed immediately. "Your Highness," Tara whispered. "What is it? Are you worried?" "I do not know," Saralin admitted, "but I must be prepared. Something is coming." The first alarm sounded just as the palace breakfast ended. A soft tremor shook the marble floors, followed by distant explosions. Servants screamed and nobles scrambled to the exits. Saralin's heart raced. Without hesitation, she ran to the council chamber where Aaron Vale and the Emperor had been discussing security. Aaron was already there, scanning the palace with his handheld device. "The attack has begun," he said calmly. "Koran's men are here." The chamber doors shook as the first wave of soldiers broke through. They were armed with alien energy rifles, moving with precision and purpose. But Aaron did not panic. He held his stance, signaling Saralin to follow. "Stay close," he said. "I will protect you." They moved through the palace corridors like shadows. Fires began to spread, the air thick with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Guards loyal to Koran tried to stop them, but many hesitated, unsure of who to follow. Aaron led Saralin through hidden passageways he had memorized from the blueprints her father had shared. "Why are you so calm?" Saralin asked, coughing from the smoke. "Because panic gets people killed," he replied. "We assess, move, and survive. That is how humans handle danger." Saralin glanced at him, amazed. Even in the face of fire and chaos, he remained composed. She had expected a human to shout, to panic, to falter. But Erin Vale was nothing like the stories she had heard of Earth's people. They reached the inner garden, a beautiful space of silver-leaf trees and glowing flowers. It was mostly untouched by the fire, offering a brief reprieve. Erin paused to scan the area. "We need to reach the control room," he said. "It holds the palace security systems. If we can override Koran's forces, we might turn this around." Saralyn nodded. She was frightened, but she trusted him completely. Without him, she would be lost. They dashed across the garden, avoiding patrols until they arrived at the security chamber. Erin quickly accessed the controls, overriding Koran's commands. Alarms rang, warning the rebel soldiers that the palace was no longer theirs. Outside, loyal Thrixian guards regrouped and joined the fight. Saralyn watched in awe as Erin directed them. His tactics were unlike anything she had seen. Using the palace architecture to their advantage, he turned the corridors into traps, funneling Koran's men where they could be contained without heavy casualties. But Koran was not easily defeated. He appeared in the main hall, his golden armor reflecting the flames. His eyes burned with rage. "You dare defy me, human," he shouted, pointing at Erin. "You will die here." Erin stepped forward, his stance calm but firm. "I do not seek to kill you, General. But I will defend the princess and this palace." Koran laughed. "You think your small human mind can outsmart a Thrixian general?" "I do not think," Erin said simply. "I know." The two faced each other across the burning hall. Koran's soldiers charged, but Erin had already anticipated their moves. With precise timing, he directed the loyal guards to block the pathways, forcing Koran's men into positions where they could be disarmed safely. Meanwhile, Saralyn saw a group of rebel soldiers approaching her. She had never fought before, but she picked up a ceremonial staff from the floor. She had trained in court defense as part of her princess duties, and now it mattered more than ever. Erin noticed her. "Princess, stay behind me." "I will not hide," she said, her voice firm. "I am not a child." Erin gave a small smile. "Then we fight together." For the first time, Saralyn realized something extraordinary. Humans and Thrixians could truly work as equals. Together they moved with a rhythm neither had before. She deflected attacks while Erin guided her through openings, and for every danger they faced, they found a solution. The palace hall was a dance of fire and motion. Smoke swirled, sparks flew, but neither faltered. Finally, they reached Koran himself. The general swung a heavy energy blade at Erin, but Erin ducked, countered, and disarmed him with a single motion. Saralyn watched, amazed. The human had no fear, no hesitation, and yet he was not cruel. When Koran fell, Erin restrained him without striking a fatal blow. "It is over," Erin said quietly. "Your reign of fear ends here." Koran glared but remained bound. The loyal guards cheered, and Saralyn felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Peace, fragile as it was, had survived another day. As the fires died down, the palace began to recover. Loyal engineers repaired damage while soldiers escorted prisoners. The emperor entered the hall looking at the princess and the human with surprise and gratitude. "Princess Saralyn," he said, his voice firm, "you have shown courage beyond your years, and you, Commander Vale, have proven the worth of your people." Saralyn turned toward Erin, her silver eyes reflecting the glow of the remaining fires. "You were incredible," she said softly. Erin shook his head. "I only did what was necessary. You risked everything for me. For all of us," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never thought a human could. I never thought I would trust one." Erin looked at her calmly. "Then we are not so different, Princess. We both fight for what we believe is right." For the first time, Saralyn smiled fully, without hesitation. "Perhaps you are not the human I expected. Perhaps you are better." Erin returned the smile. "And perhaps you are braver than I thought any princess could be." That evening, the palace was quiet. The smoke from the fires lingered in the sky, but the worst had passed. Saralyn and Erin walked side by side through the corridors, now free from danger. "You saved my people," she said softly. "Not just me." "And you saved me," he replied. "If you had not warned me of Koran's plan, I would not have survived." She looked up at him, realizing something she had not admitted even to herself. I never imagined a human could be like this, calm, brave, honest." Erin nodded. "We are all capable of more than the stories say. Even your people, Princess, for the first time, Saralyn felt a strange warmth in her chest, admiration, respect, and perhaps the beginning of trust. The palace might recover its walls, its gold, and its glory, but the most important change had already begun. The bond between a human and an alien princess, forged in fire and danger. And though the future still held uncertainties, for the first time Princess Saralyn did not fear it. The palace of Valanthra had returned to a fragile calm. The twin suns shone down, reflecting golden light across the marble towers. Fires had been extinguished. Koran and his followers were imprisoned, and the palace hall smelled of burned stone and fresh water from the fountains being refilled. Princess Saralyn stood on her balcony, looking at the bustling courtyard below. Guards repaired walls, servants cleared debris, and nobles whispered cautiously among themselves. Yet the palace still felt uneasy. Peace had been defended but not yet fully restored. She turned when a familiar voice spoke from behind her. "Your Highness," said Aaron Vale, stepping onto the balcony. His uniform bore faint scratches from the battle, but he looked calm, almost as if the chaos had passed for him while leaving her shaken. Saralyn's eyes met his. For a moment she said nothing. Words felt too small for the storm of emotions in her chest. "You fought bravely," she finally whispered. "And not just for me, for everyone here." Aaron shook his head. "We did it together. You warned me. You fought. Without you, none of this would have been possible." Her heart beat faster. She had opposed the humans. She had thought they were dangerous, unworthy of the royal bloodline. Yet here he stood, calm, honest, brave, and patient. More than a human, he was a protector, an equal, a partner. "I never imagined a human could be so capable," she said softly. Aaron smiled faintly. "And I never imagined a princess could be so fearless." That afternoon, the emperor called an emergency council meeting. The chamber was filled with the surviving nobles, generals, and advisors. Every face was tense, reflecting the scars of the previous night's betrayal. "Commander Vale has proven the truth of his words," the emperor began. "His actions prevented disaster. He has shown honor, courage, and wisdom beyond what I expected of humanity." The room murmured. Some nobles still exchanged uneasy glances, hesitant to accept this truth. Princess Saralyn rose from her seat. "If I may speak, Father," she said, her voice steady. "Commander Vale did more than protect the palace. He protected our people, and he showed that humans, like all beings, have strength that cannot always be measured by rank or title." The emperor nodded. "Indeed. And now the alliance between Thrixia and Earth can move forward with trust, if we are willing to embrace it." Aaron remained silent, though his eyes met hers for a moment. In that glance, she understood what he felt: respect, gratitude, and quiet patience. Later, in a private chamber, Saralyn and Aaron walked together among the palace gardens. Flowers glowed faintly under the moonlight, and the fountains sparkled. For the first time, there were no alarms, no danger, and only quiet. "You have changed my opinion of humans," Saralyn said softly. Aaron looked at her calmly. "And you have changed my understanding of aliens. You are not a princess who hides behind power. You face danger and responsibility with courage." Saralyn hesitated. "But this alliance—" "I was supposed to oppose it. I was supposed to reject you." Aaron smiled faintly. "Sometimes the heart sees what the mind refuses to accept. You see the truth now." She looked down, her silver hair glowing in the soft light. "Yes, the truth is, I trust you. I respect you. And more than that—" Her voice trailed off, uncertain. Aaron reached out his hand gently. "You do not need to say more. I understand." For a moment they stood together in silence. The palace, the rebellion, and the danger of yesterday seemed like distant echoes. All that mattered was the bond forming between them. Fragile, new, and honest. The next morning, the palace courtyard was alive with activity. Nobles whispered about the alliance, guards trained, and the Emperor called Princess Saarlin to his side. Saarlin, he said, you have shown wisdom beyond your years. You have made a choice, though not one I could have predicted. Tell me, what do you wish to do? She took a deep breath, recalling the past days. The danger, the courage, the calm of a human who stood beside her in every moment of crisis. I wish, she said, to accept the alliance. And to accept Commander Aaron Vale as my chosen partner, not because of duty, but because he has earned my trust and respect. The council fell silent. Even the Emperor paused. Then he smiled faintly, pride shining in his eyes. You have made a wise decision, Saarlin, and perhaps this choice will shape a future brighter than we imagine. Aaron, standing beside her, said simply, I am honored, Princess. Not as a commander, not as a guest, but as your equal. Saarlin nodded. And I too honor you. Not for your rank, not for your world, but for your courage, honesty, and heart. The nobles in the courtyard began to whisper, some in surprise, others in admiration. Many had doubted humanity, but now they saw the truth. Humans could inspire respect, loyalty, and trust even among the proud Thrixians. Days passed, and the palace slowly returned to normal. The threat of Quran and his rebels was contained. Guards remained vigilant, and humans and Thrixians worked side by side to repair the damage. Saarlin spent much of her time with Aaron, learning about Earth, its people, and their ways. He told her stories of mountains taller than any Valanthrian tower, oceans that stretched beyond the horizon, and storms that could tear cities apart. She listened in awe, realizing how resilient humans were. Aaron, in turn, learned about Thrixia, its culture, honor, and long history. He listened with respect, never judging, always trying to understand. Through these shared stories and experiences, a bond grew, one built not on duty nor on politics, but on mutual respect and trust. The day of the formal ceremony arrived. The palace courtyard was filled with nobles, diplomats, and the citizens of Valanthra. Banners fluttered, fountains sparkled, and the twin suns bathed the city in golden light. Princess Saarlin walked to the ceremonial stage, wearing a gown that shimmered like morning light. Aaron stood beside her, calm, composed, and ready. The Emperor raised his hand. Today we celebrate not only an alliance, but the courage, wisdom, and honor of those who chose peace over war. He turned to Saarlin and Aaron. Do you, Princess Saarlin, accept Commander Aaron Vale as your partner? Not for duty alone, but for trust and respect? Saarlin took a deep breath. I do. And do you, Commander Aaron Vale, accept Princess Saarlin as your partner? Not for politics alone, but for trust and honor? Aaron nodded firmly. I do. A wave of applause and cheers erupted through the courtyard. The humans and Thrixians present celebrated together, witnessing the beginning of a new chapter. Saarlin felt a strange warmth, a sense of rightness. She had feared, opposed, and doubted, yet here she stood, trusting a human, respecting him, and ready to face the future together. Aaron leaned slightly toward her and whispered, We survived the fire. Now we build peace, and together, Saarlin smiled. Yes, together. In the following days, the alliance between Earth and Thrixia became stronger. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges began, and both worlds learned from each other. Humans earned respect among the Thrixian nobles, and the citizens began to see the truth that Princess Saarlin had discovered. Humans were not weak or uncivilized. They were resilient, honest, and courageous. Saarlin and Aaron continued to work side by side, learning from each other and leading with wisdom. What began as distrust grew into a friendship, and slowly, into something deeper,